What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to the Morning View. We've got plenty to discuss this morning. We are going to be talking transfers, 150 million plus just on the midfield in the summer. We're going to be talking about some false rumours. We're going to be setting the record straight when it comes to Matheus Cunha as well this morning. And of course, we're going to be talking everything else when it comes to the fallout of the victory over Liverpool, the securing of Champions League qualification for next season, and anything else that happens whilst we're live as well. But first, right then, okay, let's get into this here, folks. We've got to talk. Manchester United's summer transfer window might have just got very, very serious, because the latest reports are saying United are ready to spend in the region of £150 million on not one, not two, but three central midfielders this summer. But if there is enough room in the transfer budget. And this is where it gets really interesting. This does not sound like United just looking for one extra body in midfield. This sounds like a full reset, a proper rebuild, a complete admission that the engine room hasn't been good enough and needs to get better. Now, according to reports, the reported plan is around £80 million for a marquee Casemiro replacement, around £40 million to replace Manuel Ugarte, and then around £20 million for a squad midfielder. Fast forward to 3 months later, we spent £100 million each on all of those three. But one side of this is certainly exciting, right? United fans, we've all been crying out for a dominant midfield for years. If you want to compete with those that are going to be challenging for the title, your Arsenals, your Manchester Cities, and teams that maybe have had a poor season this season but might bounce back, whoever it may be, you cannot keep getting overrun in the middle of the pitch. You need legs, you need quality, you need control, you need players who can play, certainly for us next season, every 3 days and actually suit the way the manager wants to play, considering there were rumours that Michael Carrick maybe hasn't even played the style that he wants with the players that he's got at his disposal. But the other side is also this. 150 million nowadays, is that even enough for three midfielders, particularly of the quality that we're looking for? Because if Elliot Anderson is going to cost huge money, if Carlos Baleba last summer was quoted as expensive, Sandro Tonali, that's difficult. Ederson's been reported to be a realistic option from Atalanta. Then United have to be smart. This cannot be another summer where we spend big money, then 12 months later we go, we might need some more midfielders, you know. And then, of course, there's Kobbie. There's Kobbie Mainoo. Just signed a new contract, just scored the winner against Liverpool at the Stretford end. And do United build around him or do they support him? Does he need protection? Does he need a world-class partner? So this is the debate. Are United finally building a serious midfield, or are they about to gamble another £150 million? Get in the comments. If United sign three midfielders, who are your three? Would you sell Ugarte already? Is a Casemiro, is he definitely done? Can you get a good replacement? And frankly, is £150 million enough to fix Manchester United's midfield? Let me know in the chat. As always, let me know in the comments. Good morning. How is everybody doing? Let me check the chat. Easy for me to say, and see where we're all at this morning. Man United says, where is the Champions League intro theme? Well, I did play it after the game on Sunday. It's not obviously updated. It's still the old version. It still kind of works apart from Liverpool. But since it was on a super chat, and you know me, I'm a man of the supers, right? Let's play the intro.
Listen. We're in the Champions League. We're in the Champions League. Finishing top three. We're in the Champions League. Where's Liverpool? Not there. Where's Chelsea? Not there. Where's Spurs? Not there. Oh my God! You're not going blind because you did not.
We will update it. We will update it over the summer, but just a little teaser, little teaser of what's to come in the next season as well. Yeah, and like I said, it kind of works. Where's Liverpool? Technically not there. Where's Spurs? Definitely not there. Where's Chelsea? Definitely not there. Oh my God! You know, it kind of we just need to tweak it. We just need to tweak it a little bit. But we're not far away. We're not far away from that one. I think just some minor changes, And I tell you what. When it comes to changes, Manchester United certainly are going to be making them in the summer. But I think you are as well. And here's how. Optimised. Oh, good VT.
Today's video is sponsored by our friends at Oxford Natural and their all-new natural supplement, Optimum Day and Night. Thousands across the UK, USA and beyond are smashing their health goals with Oxford Natural. Optimum Day gives you steady energy, curbs your cravings and keeps your metabolism firing all day. Optimum Night helps you relax, get restorative sleep, recover, and keep burning fat while you rest. It's not a magic pill, but it will help you reach your health goals. Check out some of the incredible results. 2 of our own. Owen lost over 100 pounds in 10 months, and KG dropped 30 pounds in 4 months. In 8 months, football legend Michael Owen lost 35 pounds, and Robbie from AFTV, Don Robbie, lost over 80 pounds. And in 6 months, Anita, an award-winning immigration lawyer, lost 44 pounds, and Linda, a law firm executive, lost over 50 pounds. No gimmicks, no needles, just results. Oxford Natural, let's get to work.
Yes, let's get to work indeed. You can scan the QR. Oh, get rid of that. So you can scan the QR code right there and save up to 70% off of your Optimum Day, which is good for your weight loss goals, or your Optimum Night, which is good for your restorative sleep, keeps your metabolism firing while you rest. You can get them individually or combined any way you please. Get Optimized today. Click the link, scan the QR code. You can find out all the info. You can go to the landing page. You can see, read, and listen to the testimonials, and you can get Optimize. Yes, optimize indeed. We've got a lot to get to this morning because almost predictably, maybe, after Manchester United officially qualify for the Champions League this Sunday, what happens the next day? We get an avalanche of news stories about, obviously, Michael Carrick and his future, and the job's his to lose or the job's his to turn down. You also then get an avalanche of transfer speculation about a multitude of different positions, left back, midfielders, strikers, left wingers, almost like Manchester United may have been working diligently in the background over the last couple of months. And the moment that suddenly Manchester United are officially in the Champions League next season, a lot of these conversations, a lot of these talks, a lot of these discussions become much more real and much more serious and much more pressing and maybe much more realistic as well. So we're going to go through them bit by bit and try and separate and weed through, you know, the fact from the fiction, the speculation from the likelihood of happening, this, that, and the other, because there was a lot. It was a heavy bank holiday weekend in terms of transfer information and speculation when it comes to Manchester United. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Let's see if we can get to a quick 100 likes and let me know where you're feeling. Let me know where you're at when it comes to the feelings coming out Sunday. Also, as well, the feelings going into the summer. Are you excited? Are you nervous? Is it a combination of several different emotions, right? Is it a case of, we're in the Champions League, but we've got to go get players. We've got to sort out all this stuff. Let me know your thoughts on all of it. So let's get into this, right? Let's begin with this midfield summer rebuild being reported first by a lot of people, to be fair. But Chris Wheeler went into quite heavy depth in this from the Mail. He said that Manchester United are ready to spend in the region of £150 million to sign 3 central midfielders this summer if there is enough room in the transfer budget. Now, that bit at the end when it goes, if there's enough room in the transfer budget, I mean, we do hear this every single season, every single summer, don't we, about the, I don't know, with United, man, if they're going to have the money, it's going to be close. They're quite close to being in that red, and PSR, and now is it squad cost ratio? I wouldn't expect too much. It's not going to be like it usually is when we spend £200 million or £250 million and then we go and spend £250 million every single time. So I think there is room, basically, in the budget to spend a significant amount of money on 3 central midfielders. On top of that, the thing I do kind of push back on a little bit, I think, is sort of the next part of this reporting, because this is when you get into the sort of football manager FIFA territory. But the report says, that Manchester United's ideal funds allocation, again, ideal, doing a lot of heavy lifting here, ideal funds allocation for midfield is an £80 million replacement for Casemiro. I guess that's, your Elliot Anderson's, who else could be that Casemiro replacement, that kind of ball winner? I don't think the 80 million is Carlos Baleba. I would hope not, because I think if it's 80 million pounds, that's overspending. That's not a million miles away from what Brian were looking for last summer. But that marquee name, the Elliot Anderson kind of name, who else would fit into that category? Is Adam Wharton going to cost you 80 million pounds? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. This is why, again, I push back when it comes to this, because you go to 40 million to replace Manuel Ugarte, and you can get a half decent, backup, not say replacement, but a backup squad player for 40 million, 20 million pound for a player that's maybe a bit of a player from the Championship. We'll talk about that in just a bit as well. Maybe that kind of player. But as I said just a second ago, this is not Football Manager. Unfortunately, this is not FIFA. This is not, any kind of old football game you can think of. Championship Manager, was it Total Club Manager? Whatever. In that sometimes it doesn't work like that, and I'm really, really interested to see what the transfer window in general, not even just Manchester United. This is football. Nice one, Court Star. I'm curious to see what the sort of price point is just in this market as well, because the reason I say that is we never know. And I know that Flex has spoken about it quite a lot recently. Oh, this person will be this. Oh, how did I forget Kristen? Alame manager. Fucking hell. Pardon me. But oh God, I forgot about that. I am a disgrace. That is a slap on the wrist. But yes, that sometimes we go, oh yeah, it's going to cost 40 million pounds to get a midfielder, and the next thing you know, Manchester United are signing that player for 68 million pounds. So I'm really interested to see whether the price point is at this summer, just in terms of the general market. In terms of the 20 million pound squad player, I know that Shea Charles from Southampton was reported about that, and that's something you could see. That's something you could see happening. I think it's been reported that Southampton have put a valuation on him for about 20 million pounds. Depends what happens with them. If they get promoted to the Premier League through the playoffs, suddenly that changes. 40 million to replace Ugarte. I think that I don't even think it's an Ugarte replacement. I think it's just a case of, if you're going to get a squad player, not a first team start, but a squad player that's decent, can come in and out of the team and contribute, 40 million pound, maybe you get them from, maybe you get someone from La Liga or something along those lines. And then for 40 million, and then, like I said, that 80 million pounds is, I think, your marquee played in the Prem midfielder, whether that is Elliot Anderson or somewhere else, I don't know. Still feels like Elliot Anderson feels a bit City-ish. But at the same time, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So I'm really interested in seeing what we do, where we go with it. For those that might, roll their eyes a little bit at a Shea Charles from the Championship, we're the same club that's looking at players that were playing in the Championship a season or two ago and going, we need to go get them now. We need to go get them. And we've been crying as fans, aren't we? Going, when we're making these signings, get the marquee names, bring those in, your 80 million pounds. But if you can go and get your 10 millions, your 15 millions, your 20 millions, and they can contribute, even if it's in, it's bit part, and it's not even playing a huge part this season, but in a season's time, we ask for it. You know what I mean? We ask for that kind of stuff, and we're going to need it, because you can't just go around spending 80 million pounds on every single player. Eventually, even though we do cry poverty sometimes, the well will dry. You've got to be looking around. This is what we get. This is what we go for. This is what we ask scouts to do. Go find this player. I found this player. No, sign experienced players, right? In addition to that, we're being linked with Matheus Fernandes. This was another one that came out yesterday as well, saying that he was being discussed by a number of clubs, including Manchester United. There's been so much talk recently, hasn't there, about Bruno maybe earmarking him and talking to him and recommending him. This is the person you need to get. You need to go get Matheus Fernandes from West Ham. There's still bits to go on this one as well, isn't there? West Ham, won't they get relegated? As of today, feels like they might. As of maybe a game or two's time, maybe it'll feel like they won't. Football's a really strange thing at this time of the year. So his price point can change dramatically. And of course, he only just signed last summer. So I think he's got a contract till 2028. Maybe a bit longer than that was Fernandez's. Or maybe even longer. Matheus Fernandes. So he signed for just over 40 million pounds last summer in total, and it was a 5-year contract. Excuse me. So it's even longer than that. So it would have been 2031. Excuse me. So with this one, massively depends on, I think, what happens with West Ham in terms of a price. even then, even if they did get relegated, that's when I suppose clubs do start doing the whole, right, we're going down, we're going to sell the players, who gets us the most? Who goes and gets us the most. So this one we'll have to watch out for as well. We're then also being like, this is happening in a space of like 24, 48 hours. Well, certainly 24 hours after qualifying for the Champions League. Then we get reports coming from Italy. Remember this guy, Edison, who I'm pretty sure we've been linked with. Off the top of my head, as long as I've been doing this, I feel like every summer and every winter, we get a story that Manchester United are interested in Edison, or Manchester United are talking to Atalanta about Edison. I cannot remember the amount of times that I've heard this story that Manchester United are interested in Edison. So if we do actually end up signing him, my goodness me, thank God, just to not hear the more stories about it. But there are reports coming out of Italy saying that Manchester United have overtaken Atletico Madrid with a contract proposal to him. They're offering a salary of £75,000 a week, which is actually, that's quite in terms of the squad. That's pretty light. You know what I mean? It's a pretty light. I know to us, normal humans, we look at that and go, close to £80,000 a week. But bear in mind, Kobe just signed a new deal that was, I think, around 150. The Ahmad one, I think, is 115, 120, something like that. So £75,000, he'd be one of the, say lower earners. He'd be just below the sort of middle of the pack, I think, a little bit. So I don't know. I mean, with this Edison one, I'm going to be honest. I look at like the other reports that are coming out about these names like Baleba, Anderson, even Charles from Southampton. I look at that and I go, well, that does make sense. I look at Matheus Fernandes and I go, well, okay, I could see that does make sense. When I see the Edison one again, I just because of the boy who cried wolf aspect of this particular transfer, I'm going to really need to see David Ornstein say that we're actually talking to Atalanta before I really buy into that one, because we've just heard it so many times. So not to poo-poo on the report from Matteo Moretto or anything like that, but I'm going to need something a little bit more concrete on that one before I start believing a little bit. And whether I haven't watched enough of Atalanta to tell you that, he's good, bad, indifferent. He would be good. He wouldn't be good. The scholars can tell me. If it is a case of all of those reports over these years have been accurate, then maybe it is a case. Man, like with Šeško, remember when we heard the stuff about Šeško when we signed him in the summer, and it was like, Man United, they've been following Šeško for years and they were waiting for the right time. Maybe it's the case with Edison as well, or maybe it's just the case of it's easy. And that's, I think, the aspect we do need to be really, 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 really careful about in the last 24 hours, certainly, is, as I touched on at the top of the show, since the final whistle went on Sunday, it's just been an avalanche of Man United back in the Champions League. So they're getting this guy, they're getting that guy, they're getting that guy. And probably a lot of it, parts of it, not a lot of it, but parts of it are true. I suppose there are aspects of some other parts of it which are true as well. But there's also probably another aspect of it of a lot of agents going, right, we can get a new contract. Why? I mean, been that great. Man United back in the Champions League. We'll say we're having talks. We'll get you a new deal. We'll get you a salary bump. That's a story old as time itself, right? About us getting linked with players. We've even had it even a couple of weeks ago. Remember with Tchouameni? We're going to get him. And then it feels like, no, he's definitely not leaving. He's probably going to sign a new contract. Yeah. So we got to be careful. We got to be very careful when it comes to all of this. So we'll see with the Edison one. But I do think the reporting here about Manchester United spending in that region of £150 million, maybe a bit more on midfielders, I think that's probably accurate. And it's needed. Let's be honest. It really, really is needed, I think, anyway. I mean, you look at, this is what is so fascinating, in my opinion, about United at the moment with, what we have done this season in the Prem, where we're going to finish, some of the results that we've got is, technically, of course, we've got more than two midfielders at the club, but really our midfield, Casemiro and Kobe, that's basically all we've got. And we're losing half of that this summer as well. We look at Ugarte, you never want to bring him on. The record's terrible when he comes on. Not that that's his fault, but It's just not worked out for him. He's off in the summer. I mean, Fabrizio Romano feels like he's doing daily updates telling everyone, don't worry, Ugate's going in the summer. So I feel like that's from United and Ugate's camp of he's leaving. So, and then who else do you bring on as your midfield option? Mason Mount, if he's available. And is he really, well, he's certainly not in the cast position. Cobby could maybe do that, but is he a 10 or is he kind of just fitting everywhere? So we don't even have options. We don't even have options, let alone we're losing half of it, and we're losing one of our most influential players this season in Casemiro. So the midfield's been on the agenda for a long time. We even came into this season, didn't we? With people going, I can't believe we didn't get a midfielder last summer. We're going to be light, but maybe we get away with it because we're only in, 3 competitions, 1 competition for the whole season. But we won't get away with it next year. There's just too much football. There's too much football to be played next season, and there's too much expectation as well. I think too. It won't be tolerated. I don't think if Man United are back in the Champions League. Well, we are back in the Champions League, but we're in all these competitions next season. If we go out early, it's not tolerated. So we need options to compete. If we're going to progress further in the Premier League, with the schedule that we have, we're going to need more bodies, and we're going to need more quality, not just to handle the schedule, but also to handle the match itself. So often in the games that we've played, and it's not even just a recent thing. This is just a football thing of, this game's not really working out as I thought. I'm going to need to change it. Or this person, they're not playing that well. Or this person, they've got an injury. I need to change it. You turn to your bench and you see nothing, and you're like, what am I going to do? And ultimately, this is where, when you do turn it into the conversation, I think about the coach or whoever, whether that's Carrick or whether that's somebody else, whoever that person is who's doing the turn to the bench and looking about who they've got to bring on in the midfield. If they don't have anyone or they don't have the quality, then they are going to have a really, really difficult time of it to succeed. Very difficult time of it. Not to say it's impossible, because football's a funny thing, but it's going to be really, really tough for them. So that midfield area, critical. Beyond, as far as the players that we get, I mean, your guess really is as good as mine at this point. I mean, the Elliot Anderson one, like I said, I don't think happens, but you never know. I think if Ineos could pull it off from where it feels like it is at the moment, which feels like it's kind of on City's doorstep, doesn't it? If Man United could pull that off and somehow salvage that one, would be incredibly exciting. But I have doubts about it. I think everyone, or most people, I think half expect probably to see Carlos Baleba in a Manchester United shirt next season. The only way I think that one doesn't happen is if Brighton really price United and Baleba out of a deal. I feel like the Baleba one was probably almost agreed last season, unofficially. Unofficially, it kind of feels like that, doesn't it? Of how much do you want for him this year? You want 100 million. All right, well, we'll come back next summer then when it's a bit less. We've already agreed stuff with Carlos. It's fine. We'll come back. So that one feels like that one. I feel like that's probably my most confident one of that's probably going to happen. And then the rest, I tell you what is really interesting about that Matheus Fernandes one. That one's really started to heat up, hasn't it? Really, really started to heat up. And I just wonder, again, what I think a lot of people will be looking at what happens with West Ham over the next couple of weeks. I tell you what, we might be able to get a good deal there, and we can use the Bruno link. Bruno's talking to him. Bruno's recommending him. I can get him in. I depending on where what happens with West Ham and how complicated that could get, because there is an element of complexity there, isn't there? There is. Well, if they stay up, he's got a long-term deal. Yeah. If he goes down, it's still going to cost you. It's not as if Matheus Fernandes, West Ham get relegated and then suddenly we're like, right, we're going to get Matheus Fernandes for nothing. Of course. But we'll see with that one. But I like Matheus Fernandes. I think he's a really good player. And then also, like I said yesterday, when I do hear those reports from Chris Wheeler of saying that, United are looking at Shea Charles from the Championship, or they are looking at those players, that I think that's encouraging too. I really do think so, because I know that some turn their nose up at it and go, oh, what, Man United signing a championship player? How could they? But like I said, I think these are the same types of players that are being purchased by your Crystal Palaces, your Aston Villas, your Brighton, your Brentfords, your whoever. And then in 6 months' time, 12 months' time, we're going, we need to bring him in. We need to bring him in, and they're going to cost us £75 million. Well, why not cut out the middleman? Why not go get him for 20? And even if it is while the game time is going to be limited, or you're not going to be a first team starter, if they're good enough, they'll push themselves in, and they've got opportunities to play next season because we're in so many competitions, right? As Kristen says right there, Elise, came from Reading to Palace, couple of seasons, smashes it. He's at Bayern Munich, right? So I think this idea now, maybe back in the day, even that's kind of bullshit, but because in the 90s, Man United used to sign players from Division 1 all the time. Some of our best players have come from obscure clubs, but lower clubs, or not high transfer fees or anything like that. Like I said, that's what scouts are meant to do. And I think particularly now, with the quality that's in the Championship, particularly at the sort of top half, a lot of those players can step right into the Premier League, no problem at all, and they're ready to. And if anything, Man United need to kind of get the perfect mix. We've gone, I think, to very extreme ends of the spectrum at certain points of our transfer strategy over the years, right? Sometimes we get so heavily focused, don't we? Get so heavily focused on, we need big names, star names. We need names, big players. We need the big players. And we kind of did that last year, obviously, from the Prem, of like, we need the Prem proven players, which is fair, which is true. But then we have proven ourselves that there is a Senna Lommans out there in the Belgian. Who would have thought that? But a Belgian Royal Antwerp being the number one goalkeeper for Manchester United. I don't know about that. And even with that mistake at the weekend, he's been a revelation this season, right? So I think those players are out there. And with all of the talk and reports about Manchester United investing in, we've overhauled the data department, we've overhauled the scouting department. That guy from, was it Mercedes? GP, F1 rather, came in. And they've said, Man United have really upgraded all of that kind of stuff. Man United now, not as if they didn't have a terrible scouting network, because I think that's a bit of a falsehood about United over the years. They were saying actually that the network, the scouting network that Manchester United have, is one of the most extensive and deep around the world. It's just the Man United's inability to manage that data previously, or Manchester United's inability to make use of all of that information that they were getting, or Man United's inability to process the analytics of the data that they were getting. They would be like, someone would sign a player, and then they'd be like, oh, yeah, we were aware of him. We were scouting him. We looked at him a few times, and we saw these really interesting scout reports, but we didn't do anything with them. So once again, we saw it last summer with Lommans. We've seen it with Aiden Heaven. Look at Aiden Heaven. My goodness me. Aiden Heaven's playing as your left centre back against Liverpool and doing a brilliant job. That's 1.5 million from Arsenal. That's out of their academy. Is he going to be ready for the Prem? Fast forward 12 months later, 18 months later, he's starting for Manchester United against Liverpool, right? So they're out there. They're out there. And that's, again, it's not to go to the extreme end of the spectrum of, so we don't buy experienced players, we don't buy Prem players. Of course we do. We need to, particularly some of the outgoings that we've got in the summer. But the budget, I don't think, should be totally blown on just right. 80 million. You could probably find better and get better value for money and get more players in, because we need numbers of players. And also the other part of it too is, once that price starts escalating, obviously then the risk that comes with it is huge. And Flex and myself spoke about this a while ago, that if you look at the most expensive transfers of all time, the hit rate is to be honest, the hit rate is probably just as it is for any other transfer, which is a bit 50-50. Every transfer is a gamble. There's no such thing as a sure thing, is there? And sometimes people pay the high prices because they think that's what they're getting. We're getting a sure thing, but you never know. There are so many different factors, aren't there? There is how you adapt to the club, what coach you're in, what system you're in, the league you're in, your teammates, how your family settles, etc., etc. So there's so much that goes into it. And we're going to have to be living that all this summer. I agree, Ridwan. I think, look at that. I mean, it's Aiden Heaven, that signing, around £1 million. It's unbelievable. I mean, absolutely. It's a ridiculous piece of business. Even now, right? If Aiden Heaven goes on, and this won't be the case, I don't think, touch wood. But if Aiden Heaven if Aiden Heaven went on to have a even below average or mediocre Manchester United career, we've already got our money's worth of him. £1.5 million in today's market. It's unbelievable. I mean, that's basically a free transfer in today's day and age. 1.5 million, I know, but you get my point. 1.5 million pounds, young player, and he finds himself playing against Liverpool and playing well. And like I said, even if like it doesn't work out for him going forward, it's already worked out for United. You know, you think if Aiden Heaven ended up leaving, we would sell him for 1.5 million pounds. You know, of course we wouldn't. Aiden Heaven's not worth 1.5 million pounds now, is he? So that just goes to show how much can change in a really short period of time. Really short period of time. And of course, yeah, Force says he was cheapest because he was in the academy, but it's not even. I learned this with the Lomans thing. Yeah, there's no need to put an asterisk over it, in my opinion. There's no need to go, wow, he was cheap because he was an academy player. That still makes it good business because he is playing now not in the academy. He's playing in the first team. He's playing in the first team, probably way ahead of schedule. What they ever thought, he's probably exceeded their wildest expectations. And yeah, if anyone tried to purchase Aiden Heaven now, it certainly would not be 1.5 million pounds, would it? And that's when I go talk about the championship signings, because they're there, they're out there, and if they get a bit of game time, if they get a bit of luck, with injuries and certain timing or what have you, then it can be fantastic. Like I said, we've already made our money on Aiden Heaven, tenfold already, and he's barely even scratched the surface. So what a fantastic signing for Manchester United. Absolutely. Base the Kid says, talk about the Bruno Fernandes interview with Gary Neville regarding Ruben Amorim. There's a lot of acronyms for names there. I saw a part where he was sort of saying maybe he came more complete because he was playing deeper, which is probably fair. I think that's a fair comment to make. Playing in a different position, you learn new skills, and player the quality of Bruno Fernandes, learning new skills and becoming a more rounded player. I think that certainly helped him. Not to say he wasn't quality anyway, but maybe he's better for it. I think with Bruno, I was thinking about this yesterday. Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday about Bruno. Obviously you get the discussion a lot, don't you, about is he a Man United legend, blah, blah, blah. And it's always difficult when a player's still playing, I think, to make that determination about whether they are or they aren't a Manchester United legend, and what is the criteria. Sometimes because of the history of United, is that you can't be a legend if you didn't win a Prem, or you can't be a legend if you didn't win a Champions League and what have you. But I think with Bruno, I was thinking about his years as captain as well, and think about it, like he became the official captain, didn't he, in Erik ten Hag's, or just before Erik ten Hag's second season. But for all intents and purposes, that first season under Erik ten Hag, he was the captain, but Harry Maguire's still officially the captain, but Maguire wasn't playing but that often. So Bruno was the captain. When we won the Carabao Cup, they both did the trophy lift to kind of show you where it was at. But you think with the 2 years that Bruno has been the captain, and I know the naysayers will say, Lord, look exactly like how terrible it's been with him as captain, but think of what he's had to deal with as being the Manchester United captain. Eric's second season, which we all go was a complete disaster. Look at the signings. Onana, Højlund, Mount, was it Amrabat and Evans, and Johnny Evans is the best signing. So as the captain, you've got to deal with all of that shit, that shit show. Next season, it's even worse. Still Eric and with Ruben, and been trying to, if it wasn't for Bruno Fernandes, because Bruno Fernandes still put up the numbers he's basically put up this season. We finished 15th last season. If it wasn't for him, Lord knows where we would have finished up. So I'm really glad that one, this season, he's absolutely smashed it. I still think he's going to break the assist record, but I'm really, really glad that he is, starting to get some of his accolades, because the conversation around him over the last couple of years has been so, I think, unfair and so ridiculous. You look at, like, for instance, the Gary Neville of, he's asking to come off, which has Neville yet apologized or admitted that he was wrong with anything like that? Because that still gets brought up to this day. And when you want to talk about, like, a leader, a leader is someone that's there through the good and the bad. If you're flying, you're top of the league and you're winning trophies and what have you, and you're winning games and everyone's telling you how great you are, that's easy. I mean, the position that Bruno's in now, where people are waxing lyrical about him and talking so positive about him and doing it fantastically, that's the easy part of being a leader, isn't it? The hard part of being a leader is when it's going shit, when it's going rubbish. People are coming for you because you're the face of the team. Bruno Fernandes is the face of the team, the players. Bruno Fernandes is the face of the players aspect of Manchester United. So if a team is failing, they will go for Bruno, the leader, the captain. Harry Maguire had the same thing. But that's also what leadership is just taking it. You know what I mean? Just taking it and going, we're going to have to just keep going and keep saying to the guys around you, the people around you, because we just got to get through this, get to next season. It'll get better. And I'm going to do my best to lead by example. And certainly this season, through the good and the bad, and that has been, bad this season too, he has led by example. He's always, even if you're just talking about availability, I know he missed a couple of games this season, which is very unlike Bruno, but leads by example. He's always available. He's always there. He's always willing to speak to the media even when it's not easy to. And you look at how he was playing even on Sunday against Liverpool, which I think he did really, really well in that game. And it doesn't even come close, I think, to his best game this season, but he did very well at the weekend. Some of the stuff he was doing in that game, some of the passes, some of the balls in the box, that one where it gets ruled offside in the end, but the ball, when Casemiro does the Casemiro special, he hooks it and it's right up in the air. It's close to sort of, look, you think, is this going to go out? And out of the air, literally comes down like that, stops it dead, puts it in the box to Mbeumo, and Mbeumo does a little flick behind and it hits the post. It was offside in the end. What a player. I mean, what a player. I mean, the technical ability of the man is just outstanding, isn't it? It really, really is. So going back to his year like a Manchester United legend or what have you, like I said, it's difficult. I think he's really unfortunate that he's in a time where Manchester United haven't been winning Premier League trophies and Champions Leagues and what have you. Not that that's on Bruno Fernandes whatsoever. But I'm really glad to see him getting his accolades and his, even some of the naysayers not talking that loudly about Bruno now, because that's what Bruno does. Whenever people want to talk shit about him, he will end up always proving them wrong. And it looks like maybe Cobby's in that kind of territory as well, which is really exciting too. I remember even as recently as about a month or so ago, what does Cobby do? Cobby wins Manchester United versus Liverpool at Old Trafford, scores the winner at the Stretford end on the week he signs his contract. That's what he does. And that's what he'll continue to do. And it's not just goals as well. But a game before against Brentford, he should have got an assist with that brilliant solo run and the one with Ahmad, and he hits it off, gets deflected off the line, didn't it? So, yeah, when it comes to it, again, these top players that sometimes we can be a bit quick to throw to one side and say that they're dead, they got something to give. And that's why, again, when it comes to the recruitment in the summer, critical, because you need to get good players to play with the players that the top players that we've already got. Where are we at in terms of likes? We're nearly at 800 people watching. We're nearly at 150 likes. So let's get those likes up, folks. If you haven't already, click the like button and be sure to subscribe to United View if you haven't already. As you can see there in the top right-hand corner, just 35 away from 211,000. I do want to very quickly touch on this Matheus Cunha stuff, right? So Flex did a video on this last night. He spoke a lot about this. But I was really shocked at how this one snowballed so quickly, because when I looked at it immediately, I thought, well, none of this is confirmed. This is all speculatory. I'm shocked that this is being treated like fact. So if you're not aware of what happened yesterday, sort of evening time, so reports were coming out from ESPN Brazil saying that Brazil had reached an agreement with Manchester United that Matheus Cunha, he was going to be rested for the final 3 games of the season. And this was, and again, I was really, really surprised at the wording that people were using. This isn't a shot at United District, obviously, but when you go to the post, it's basically the idea that was going around was that Cunha, Man United qualified for the Champions League, Brazil and Man United have spoken, and Cunha, because he obviously had been carrying some injuries, he had just made it back for the games against Brentford, against Liverpool. So because of that, Manchester United were saying, we've done what we've needed to do. You rest up and you make sure you're ready for the World Cup. And naturally, that got people talking about, is that right? Is that fair? And we want to be, we don't want to take it off the gas, but if he's injured, then maybe that's the right thing to do, blah, blah, blah. But I was shocked, like I said, that nobody went to the Brazil account, because as soon as you went to the account, literally the first word was if. So even straight away, you go, well, this has not been agreed. You know what I mean? This is not official, because the first word is if. This is maybe something Brazil want. Subsequently, maybe an hour or so, a couple of hours later, Sully, who this is what Sully does. Sully comes in clutch. I was talking to Sully the other day, saying, "This is why you're one of the top guys at the moment, my friend. Right? This is why you're legit. Right? This is why you're legit, because this is what you do." And said, Manchester United know nothing about this, or even a potential agreement with the Brazilian Football Confederations. Not even there isn't a deal. We don't even know about the talk of a deal, anything like that. There is no plan for Matheus Cunha to be rested for the final 3 games of the season. Now, legitimately, he might not play in the next couple of games because they're managing the injury, but I don't think that's a case of we're doing it for Brazil's sake. We're doing it. They might do it for Cunha's sake to make sure he doesn't get injured long term. But the idea, and this is why even the mistranslation, it was even mistranslated. The idea that Brazil would come to United and basically say, there's 3 games that you've got coming up. You're in the Champions League, so it don't fucking matter. So, get rid of it. And of course, Man United would not do that. You want to finish the season as strong as possible. You want to get to as high the table as you possibly can. And if Cunha's available, then he's going to play. Matheus Cunha himself, even this morning, said, shut down the rumors, just going, what? He did the Cole Palmer, what? So, yeah, this was one that just massively got out of control really, really quickly yesterday. And I suppose I shouldn't be surprised, because that's the nature of the beast on social media. But like I say, when you go back to the original story, if the first word's if, that should give an indication that maybe this one's a little bit not completely accurate. So yeah, Matheus Cunha is going to be with United for the rest of the season. I would assume he's going to play games if he's fit and available. If he's not fit and available, then he won't. But it's nothing to do, I think, with Brazil or anything like that. It's just, how football goes. So yes, that one's been put to bed very, very quickly. And just since we're talking about Matheus Cunha, I saw Frank talk about this on social media, and it's so true. And I think this is worth pointing out for the summer that is ahead. I've spoken this morning about how Manchester United qualify for the Champions League, right? We're in the Champions League next season. And what happens? We get an avalanche of talks about we're going for this player, we're going for that player, positive stories, negative stories, blah, 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 blah. And with this Matheus Cunha story, it then reminded me, and it's the same what Frank says here, right? Do you remember the narrative that was around Matheus Cunha when we signed him, or even before we signed him, just as we're, just about to get him? Do you remember the narrative about how this one was going to flop as well? Because he walks. Remember this? Now, can you recall, and maybe I'm just being a sensitive, bitter Manchester United fan here, but can you recall ever, when someone's just about to sign a player, they start getting out walking stats? Who even ever uses that? When does that ever get brought up? Ever? Apart from when Manchester United are just about to spend over £60 million on a player. And if you watch Matheus Cunha this season, would you go with this suggestion? He's a lazy player. He doesn't do his bit for the team. He doesn't he doesn't get back in and support, or he doesn't press. He basically just spends the game walking around. Bullshit. Yeah. Be aware. Be very, very, very careful with what the media do with this summer when it comes to the transfer signings, because Matheus Cunha, he walks lazy, bad attitude, because he's basically just strolling around the pitch. So can't be a good signing. Won't be a good signing. Man United fans, don't get excited about that signing. Don't celebrate that signing. I'm telling you not to. Don't. Look at this statistic, right? Look at that, right? Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. And since we can keep going, let's look at this one, right? Benjamin Šeško here, scored at the weekend again. He has 11 Premier League goals, 17 starts. A lot of them came off the bench as well. But you remember, first season, 22 years old, had a spotty pre-season because of the transfer, got hurt for a period of time there as well. But now really starting to see, Benjamin Šeško. And the ceiling, for the tall man he is, the ceiling is very, very high, I think, with Benjamin Šeško. He's getting better and better. This is why I was pushing back at the beginning of the season. Remember that? Remember around the Spurs time? Šeško, he's not this, he can't do that, blah, blah, blah. Absolute horseshit. He was too scared. Remember that? Too scared to take a penalty, Benjamin Šeško, against Grimsby. How can he play for Man United if he's too scared to take a penalty? On top of this, I remember covering this in the morning. Remember this? Agents, this was from The Athletic. Agents believe Šeško's move to United was the worst deal of the window. All of those agents, it's the worst one. Worse than James Trafford. He's leaving this summer because he didn't play. They signed Donnarumma. Johan Wissa, he might be leaving because it's been a disaster of a transfer. Jadon Sancho, he's leaving on a free transfer from United. It was just somewhere to play. Look at those names. Have any of those names on that list been a hit? He's the only one that is. He's arguably on that list, the only signing that's actually been a hit, actually delivered something this season, actually done something this season of proper substance. And you had agents in the summer, again, telling United fans, and this is where, again, you've got to be so careful, I think. We all do. Because the media, that's what they do. It's constant gaslighting, isn't it? It's constant gaslighting. What you're doing isn't good. You're winning games, that's not good. You're third in the league, that's not good. That signing you're getting, Cunha, he walks around too much. He's bad attitude. Benjamin Šeško, it'll be terrible signing. Terrible. Worst one. Look at the money you spent. Look at the age. He won't score goals. Not for Manchester United. It won't work out. No. It won't. Bullshit. Bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Even that at the weekend with Šeško, because I might notice this during the match. Remember the whole, why did Michael Carrick take him off at half time? He's out of his depth. Why would he do something like that? Because he was injured, obviously. Obviously, he was injured. He wasn't going to. Benjamin Šeško scored in the first half, right? Of course, he wasn't going to get hooked off at halftime like Ahmad had at Brentford, right? Because he was playing badly. And he had an existing injury as is. Remember hearing that he was a doubt going into the game. And by all accounts, that was exacerbated by the shove that Konate did, which was a foul, by the way. I cannot believe the ref didn't get it. Clear as day. Everyone saw it in the stadium, watching at home, shove in the back. And of course, at Old Trafford, everyone knows what you're going to do, where if there's enough pace and you're near the edge of the pitch, you're going down that little hill and you might be going into the barricade kind of thing. So, yeah, had a bit of a knock, came off at half time. But, yeah, the sort of, again, it was, when I talk about sort of bad or silly narratives, this idea that Cunha got hooked off at half time by Carrick, didn't know what he's doing, didn't know what he's doing. And he go, well, he was injured. Well, that's it. That's the only time that Carrick would make us up at half time then, because he would never do that, would he? Oh, he did that on Monday. Well, it takes too long sometimes. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. stupid stuff. Which of course then led to United fans yesterday. I don't know about you. This is certainly what I was doing a lot of. I wasn't even going on football Twitter or anything like that. I was enjoying my bank holiday, as you guys saw. And I was just thinking about, oh man, it was just real, like the day after a really big result and a big moment, whether it is obviously a result over Liverpool, or even like, when you win a trophy or whatever, and the next day you just kind of, I guess, like sort of bask in that glow of it, or bask in that positivity of it all. That's what I felt like I was kind of doing yesterday. Like I really did feel like I was like, fuck, you know what? I'm really, really happy with where Manchester United have been going the last couple of months. You know, it can all go tomorrow, obviously. It's life. But I'm seeing my team back in the Champions League next season. I saw something from Simon Stone saying there's a lot to go, but we could be in pot 3, and that means at least 2 big games. And with the way the new format's going, I was like, we got that back next season. I'm excited about that. I look at the Premier League table. I see Arsenal top of the league, and I go, we beat them away. I look at Manchester City. I go, we beat them at home under Carrick. I look at us, and I go, we're 3rd. We're in the Champions League. I look at 4th spot Aston Villa. I go, we beat them. I look at Liverpool. I go, we beat them. And then I look at things like this, and, you know, see those statistics like that going, fucking hell. Since he came in 17th of January, top of the league, and not even like, it's pretty close. It's 5 points ahead of the nearest person next to us. I mean, and that's not to say that I'm blind to anything and so you're saying, in that you sat through that game against Liverpool, or you sat through that game against Brentford, and you're happy with every single thing you saw there? No, and I never will be. I don't think. Even when Sir Alex was the manager of Manchester United, he would sit through games and go, "I'll tell you what, today we didn't play well today. I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that one. Yeah, you should have made that sub. Of course, that's the nature of football. But I look at that table, and I'm excited. I'm excited about next season, and I'm a bit, like I said, a bit nervy about the summer, because I think it's such an important summer. We've got from a recruitment perspective, we have to get it right. We really do. We have to get it right for whoever is in charge. But I really look at where we're at in terms of how we've finished this season, and compared to where we were 12 months ago, 18 months ago, it really is. It's night and day. And I know that there are underlying metrics. I don't know if I've ever heard the phrase underlying metrics so much in the last sort of 48 hours or 72 hours, that you see it, and you see articles like this. Man United are actually worse, or where Manchester United are worse under Michael Carrick than Ruben Amorim. And and they talk about the stats, right? Which I went through the other day on the show, which, like, the XG, I think, is lower. Expected goals against is higher, or something like that. As I've always said, you know me, I've been on this channel now for 5 years. Statistics, I mentioned it a million times. Whatever argument you want to make, a positive one, a negative one, for, against, there is always a stat out there for you. You can find it. You know, even if the argument you're making really doesn't have a lot of logic in it, you can find a stat that can back up your argument. They're not difficult to find for anything, not even just this subject, for anything. There are stats out. There are stats out there. For me, there are some stats, of course, that you can look at, and they hold weight to it. You know, they might hold a bit of weight to it. But and this is just me, you know, people can have their own different ways of viewing football at all. That's totally fine. I'm certainly not telling people you have to think this way or whatever, because I don't want to do that, because I've noticed a lot of the a lot of the people that maybe aren't big on Carrick are very insistent on telling people that they shouldn't be either, which I don't think is totally fair. So I think at this point, if you're not a believer in Carrick or whatever, I'm not going to be able to change your mind. But for me, I look at my team at the weekend. I go, what's the result? I look at the table. I look at the form. Look at the players' body language, and I go, you know what? That's enough for me. It is. That's enough for me. It's not enough for other people. That's fine, but that's enough for me. I can only do me. And if you don't think he's the right guy, that's totally fine. If you think he's the right guy, that's fine. It does not have any bearing on me or anything like that. And I can be honest, I that's what I was kind of doing during the match at the weekend. I just can't really be asked for that argument all the time. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do me. I'm just going to do me. What did I think? What did I like? What did I enjoy? And beating Liverpool at the weekend, I loved it. You saw it. Kobbie Mainoo scoring the winner at the Stretford End. Drama. I loved it. In an ideal world, would I have preferred we make it 3-0 and it's a boring game? Of course. But also, if you'd offered a bit of drama, but you still win, it's football. It's entertainment as well. And it's about getting the heart race going. And some of the underlying metrics of possession. Again, this is my opinion. I watched the Scottish Premiership yesterday. I was talking to a friend of mine about this, actually. I watched the Scottish Premiership game between Hearts and Rangers at Tannadice. And if you don't, by the way, if you haven't checked out the Scottish Premiership this season, it's a brilliant season. I mean, the title race is phenomenal between Hearts, Celtic, and Rangers. It really, really is. And I watched the game yesterday between Hearts and Rangers, and I did just kind of think I saw the game, I saw the atmosphere, saw how it was being played, and I did just kind of, not that it made me sad a little bit, but I did kind of look at it and just going, yeah. Then I watched obviously the City game later on against Everton, and obviously it was great entertainment. But with the Premier League and with football nowadays and how it is perceived, and from a fan's perspective, not so maybe much from a coaching perspective, because I know in the game you have to rely on a lot of data and a lot of analytics and a lot of those metrics they do look at. But from a fan's perspective, when I was watching that Scottish Premier League game, I did like that it felt like a less sanitized version of the Premier League. And it felt like what the Premier League used to be sort of 10 or 15 years ago, and now, we get into football and the Prem, and like I said, I understand it. It's just the way the game's gone, and I think it's an aspect of getting lots of things from other different sports about all of these analytics and statistics, and they do tell a story. But from a pure fan's point of view, I don't know if we've just gone too deep down that rabbit hole, and you can't really celebrate a win because you had less possession than the other team. I just go, well, if that's the way football's going now, I'm just like, ugh, do you even really want to be part of that? It's about emotion. It's about the result. And did you leave the game? How did you feel coming out of the game? And just then when you get into, but your expected goals against has gone up a little bit. I'm like, imagine telling that to like the Man United players after the game. They just beat Liverpool at Old Trafford. They just qualified for the Champions League. They finished 15th last season. And then after the game, the conversation is about, possessions may be down, and you had 38% of the ball. And, some of those games, some of those metrics are going down. I'm just like, again, that's just, I think it goes back to the thought of there is this way that you have to play football. You know what I mean? You have to play football you have to dominate games. You have to have 60% possession. You have to have 65% possession. You have to suffocate the team. And then that's what you got to do. I look at yesterday. I look at Manchester City, for example. I think this is a really good example. Manchester City, if you, that first half, all over Everton. Everton, it might have been like, what was it, like 70 odd, 80% possession in that first half. They constantly had the ball. They're fortunate to draw that game in the end. Those statistics, those metrics, they are a part of it, but I think also you can't just put too much emphasis on it, because if you do, then you just lose the sort of spirit of football a little bit. You lose this idea that there are other ways to play. There are other ways to get results. There are other ways to be successful in football. And sometimes the attractive stuff is great, but I think if you ask Man City fans today, would you rather shithouse a 1-0 as opposed to play beautiful football in the first half but then collapse in the second? I know what they'd give you the answer for. So as Michael Carrick says, at this stage of the season, certainly, this part of the season, it's all about getting results, all about getting over the line. And the fact that we've done it with 3 games to spare, and we can now talk about, we can now talk about the summer. We can now talk about the transfers. We can now talk about, Michael Carrick or Iraola or whoever. That's really positive. And no underlying metrics are going to try and, in the same way that when we were signing Matheus Cunha and the media tried to tell me that he was a bad egg, he walks around too much, he's not a team player, and it was bullshit. Or Benjamin Šeško, all of the agents tell me that it's not going to work out. You shouldn't be excited about that. And if he does start poorly, it's because he's shit. I'm going to ignore that. And if I'm going to have, other media outlets as well tell me that I basically shouldn't be excited or optimistic about the future or optimistic about how we've done this season because certain metrics under Michael Carrick might be worse than Ruben Amorim, again, I'm not going to listen to it. I'm not going to listen to it. Well, I listened to it, but I just disagree. And nothing's going to convince me otherwise. And I think the argument that, well, in 12 months' time or 18 months' time, you'll see when it doesn't work out. I go back to 12 months or 18 months in football. Looking out, that's a lifetime. 18 months ago, well, 2 years ago, just under 2 years ago, Erik ten Hag's, just about to win the FA Cup with Manchester United. That feels like forever ago. Even at this point, I mean, I saw people doing quote tweets about back in January when Ruben got sacked, or some of the words that Ruben was saying just before he got sacked. That feels like a lifetime ago. Remember how close it was like, oh, Ollie's going to come back. That feels like, just a completely different timeline at this point. So then you see all of these quotes from Ruben earlier on in the season. We're not ready for Europe. We can't make Europe. We've got to suffer, blah, 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 blah. I'm tired of again hearing that kind of stuff and sort of, so I'm just not going to. It's not going to. I'm just not gonna pay too much attention to it. Honestly, I'm just gonna enjoy Manchester United being where they are in the league, and hopefully they kick on next season. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Same with any coach. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's hardly going to be the first, won't be the last. The managerial life cycle is very short. That's just how it goes. So yeah. Owen, that's being stubborn for no reason. We said the same thing about Ten Hag. Again, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. I'm not being, because again, that's when that just to me feels weird, because basically you're sort of saying there, I'm being stubborn because I'm not agreeing with you. And I'm not going to agree with you. You're not going to agree with me. We're going to have different opinions. No, Manchester United, arguably the biggest falsehood about United is that last bit. United, we're not. We're not, because in things like this, particularly stuff where we're basically trying to make a decision based on what could happen in the future. No one knows, unless you're clairvoyant. Nobody knows. So some people think Carrick's going to work out. Some people think he won't. Time will tell. I mean, I don't really know what more to say to it at this point, really. And then if the gotcha is, well, when Man United are 10th under Carrick, you'll be saying he needs to go. Well, then, yeah, he should. Man United can't be 10th. Man United can't be 15th. Man United can barely be 8th. They can't be 3rd, and they can't be top of the form table. That's where they should be. And if whoever's got us there, they should get a go at seeing if they can continue that on. If they can't continue it on, then they'll go. But as things are right now, I would just my thing is to focus on the positives, because I think there's more of them. I think there's more positives than there are negatives. And in a situation like that, I think you should try and build on that, as opposed to try and blow that all up and say, right, let's go to something else, because that the risk is just the same. So yeah, I don't think it's being stubborn. I think, again, even if you, like I said, didn't think, if you're really steadfast in your belief that absolutely no way, just Michael Carrick, absolutely he cannot have the job, I wouldn't even say, oh, you're being so stubborn about it. I would just go, well, that's just your opinion, isn't it? Yeah, it's just how it is. C says, Owen only cares about bottom line, scoreline statistics. No, because again, that's extreme as well. I just, call me old-fashioned, right? Call me old-fashioned. But I look at the table. I look at the table, and I look at the end of the game, and I go, who won? Who won that game? Now, of course, if, some games you cannot deserve to win. But I saw, this is another brilliant example of this. Did anyone see Jamie Carragher's behavior on the Gary Neville podcast on Sunday? Did anyone see that? Right? That, for me, again, is another example of just don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. His behavior on that podcast was, in my opinion, nothing short of a disgrace, right? It was nothing short of a disgrace. All he was doing, right? All he was doing was just doing these kind of sort of snide comments. Well, you haven't even got a manager. And now he was trying to tell Gary Neville, actually, the table does lie. Table does lie. Man United aren't third. Man United aren't third. Man United aren't actually in the top of the form table. Man United aren't there, you know. And actually, though, Man United shouldn't have won that game against Liverpool. Man United haven't been, you know, doing this. And like, even his response to Rio Ferdinand, I thought was way over the line. You know, could dish it out, but couldn't take it. You know, way over the line. And yeah, so, and again, that's when it goes back to, there's a lot of that at the moment. There is a lot of, through gritted teeth, sort of having to admit that Man United have done well in this second half of the season, but once again, trying to tell United fans, don't be happy about it. You haven't even got a coach. Look at how bad everything's been before. So don't enjoy it. I wouldn't. Are you happy about it? That's the kind of vibe they're giving off of, like, you're happy with that, are you? You're happy with your team winning? You're happy with that? And you sort of go, well, yeah. Don't tell me what I can be happy about. Or tell me what I can't support. Did you hear the crowd at the end of that game? Did you feel the euphoria at the end of that result? Do you look at the table right now? So don't tell me I can't be happy, or I shouldn't be happy, or I shouldn't be celebrating, or actually I don't know ball because my team won and I'm happy that my team won. What a crock of shit that is. Could you imagine? Could you imagine going to one of those, if you were walking out, right? You know, Old Trafford at the weekend, you're getting out, you see the Trinity statue, the sun was shining, everyone's happy. And you went up to one of those Man United fans and went, yeah, talk to me about the underlying metrics though. You could get the fuck out of here. You know, get out of it. Underlying metrics. Yeah, or you listen to Jamie Carragher. Well, look, league table does lie, so I don't know about that. Okay. Apparently Liverpool won the league this season. Apparently they didn't finish. They didn't finish there. It was bad. But I would honestly, if you can, try and sit through the Jamie Carragher stuff, because honestly, I was watching Sky Sports News and I saw a clip of it and I went, I've got to see this. It was crazy. Exactly. It was genuine. It was that kind of line. You're like, what? Because Gary Neville's point, where he basically said, the league's kind of that might be there for the taking, depending on certain circumstances. And Jamie Carragher was like, oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. And Gary Neville basically said, well, you know, a lot of teams are off it this season. If Man United can get it right in the summer, and you know, you can Man City, and he even said with City, he said it's not obviously with the way they're playing, but he said with the 115 charges, we don't know what's going to happen about that. And we've all said that, if Man United get it right, we can bridge a big gap. Not to say we're going to win the league or even challenge for the title next season. Who knows? But he was basically like, there's actually a lot of ground to be made up there. And Jamie Carragher, oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. As if he's a supporter of the same person who won the league, right? And then spent £400 million and got worse. So it can actually show that, you know, a lot can happen over a summer, can't it? Man United can go from 15th to 3rd after a half-decent transfer window. You know, a lot can change. A lot can change. And when it comes to Carragher, like I said, I think it just does a disservice to him, and actually Man United in general, of like, well, next season is just going to be a complete disaster. You know what I mean? Just complete disaster. We don't know that. You know, we don't know that. Look at there's no such thing in football as a sure thing. Everyone said that about Liverpool last summer. They're gonna win the league in fucking September, October with the transfer window that they had. Right? They're just thankful to get in the Champions League now with the season that they've just actually participated in. So with Carrick, with whoever, the idea is definitely not going to work next season. We don't know that. We don't know that. You know, one way or the other. Which is why I say with the way there will always be differing opinions on it, and that's not going to change. For me, like I said, clearly you know that I'm not going to change my mind. I've been saying it for like 3 or 4 years about, like, I just want to see my team win. It was the same under Ruben. When people were telling me underlying metrics then, underlying metrics. which again is hilarious, especially with the Ruben stuff. If anyone is genuinely trying to do Ruben Amorim prop at this point, it is ridiculous. It is. You can't lie. I mean, there's Roberto De Zerbi has just come into a relegation threatened Spurs. He's done back-to-back wins quicker than Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim took like a year to do it, right? And 200 odd million pounds. And then still told us we had to suffer because we can't win games. He said we weren't ready for Europe. You know, his first, how many games has Michael Carrick had now at this point? I forget. It's, where is it? 14 games, right? And Michael Carrick's got 32 points. In Ruben Amorim's first 14 games, I think Alice had this on her Twitter the other day. It was like 4 wins, maybe 4 wins, four draws, and the rest were all losses, you know. But so Chelsea, as Chris said, great example. Chelsea, they've just lost 6 in a row in the Prem. 6. They were world champions in the summer. Enzo Maresca, it's all going to go great. You know, things can change very, very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. And when they do, like I said, if you have got momentum, and maybe that's it with Carrick. Maybe it's just, well, Michael Carrick's just got momentum. Okay, let's ride the momentum for a little bit, you know, whilst we can, because it might be to our benefit, maybe. So, yeah. Where are we at in terms of super chats? Let me get this and I'll wrap things up. Did I read that one? I said we should prioritize Tonali. Newcastle is nothing more than a stopgap for him, so let's tempt him. Also, I hope New Day have that match against the Young Bucks. Yes. Well, you'll see it on my channel, Owen Wrestling News 365. Yeah, the New Day gone. Going to AEW. Most likely, I think. Tonali to United. It'd be interesting what happens to Newcastle this summer, because there is a feeling of they might lose one, and maybe it's not going to be Bruno, but I don't. That Tonali one came and went for us very quickly, didn't it? It really, it was very, very quick. I mean, that was, we're going for Tonali. We're going to get him. We're not going to get him anymore. So who knows? Who knows about? But that's the summer we've got ahead of us. Lord Carrot says, no goalkeeper can save Dalot shots from the stands. His ball's already cleared immigration before it leaves his foot. I saw a comp of like the Dalot missed chances in front of goal. He always finds himself in a very good position in front of goal. They don't really tend to go on target though. They tend to go flying above the goal into the stand, sometimes out the stadium. Yeah, we need to sign a right back in the summer as well. Good grief. And Terence says, any updates on Sir Alex Ferguson's condition after Sunday? Well, again, I haven't heard loads. I saw the reporting on the day, which was that obviously he'd felt unwell inside the stadium. He got taken to hospital for precautionary tests. He was conscious. I think he went home during the game, unless I'm mistaken. And I don't know if we've heard any updates since then. So touch wood, I think he's would be okay. But as is the case of anyone, I mean, he's in his 80s now. So fingers crossed he's okay. And you got to be, you just have to be totally careful, particularly as well with his health history as well. He's had a few health issues, hasn't he, over the last few years. So any discomfort, then they should make sure that he's taken care of, which of course he really well is. So thoughts are with him. Hopefully he can be back at Old Trafford before the end of the season. And Stretford Signal says, are we ready for Europe? What's your prediction? In terms of the schedule that comes with it, I would say probably not. You know, that's why everyone's talking about this summer, is because it's so important recruitment. We need players on our day. You know, we've proven it this season. On our day, I think we can beat anyone, because we have in the Prem. We beat City, we beat Arsenal, you know, beat Liverpool home and away. We beat Aston Villa, beat Chelsea home and away. So we could, on our day, of course we can beat them. But sometimes Europe can be a war of attrition, can't it? You know, and that is what might come in. Well, if we don't recruit properly, that is what will bite us. You look at even the top teams. Once it gets particularly to this stage of the season, you start getting to sort of February, March, April, and you're still playing every 3 days. If you get into the latter stages, it takes a toll. That's why you do see, you know, we've seen quite a lot over the last few seasons of, oh, they're going to go for the quad. Everyone talks about teams, Arsenal, City, whoever. They're going to get the quad around sort of February-ish time, and they always fall off and end up winning maybe 1 or 2 in the case of United, and say 3. But it's because that schedule is just too much, isn't it? It's just too much. It's just too much. So, yeah, for us next season, we need players in there. As far as what would I want, what's my prediction? They're two different things. Prediction, I'm going to say, I mean, obviously it's very draw dependent because even if you said quarterfinals, you could get, let's say you get Barcelona or PSG in like a playoff, because that thing with that league format, you fucking never know, do you? And even that, finishing the top of that or to the top of that league format means nothing. Remember, PSG won it last season. They were at one point of shouting, are they going to even make it out of the league phase? So prediction, maybe quarters. But honestly, I just want us just to get to the knockout phase. Just get to the knockout phase and go from there. That's what I want. I think that's what I'm going to go for. And then in terms of the Prem, I'd say just qualify for the Champions League again. I think we just need, and that's why I'm an advocate for Carrick. After everything we've been through over the last few years, I don't think it would be the worst thing just to have a little bit of consistency. You know what I mean? Just a little bit of consistency, keep things the same. And even if next season is not a super exciting, but it's just, knockout stage of the Champions League, get back in, qualify for the Champions League again, those domestic cups, have a bit of a run on them, and then see where we can go from there. That I think that's an all right season to build upon for the next, for Project 2028, if that even exists, right? So, don't want to make too big jumps too quickly. But also at the same time, look, if it's there for us next season and we get a decent run in the Champions League, or we find ourselves in a position in the Prem where we go, bloody yeah, actually, we've kind of stumbled into a title race here. We can't then be going, well, this is just a steady season for us. So we'll take it as it comes. So there you go, guys. Big up to everyone for tuning in. A bit of an extended show this morning. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe to United View if you haven't already. We've 29 subscribers away from 211,000. And we'll be back with more content soon. Of course, we're now heading into transfers and contracts and exits and incomings and what have you. So yes, we will be live, of course, if anything does break. Flex will have Flex's views as well. Plus we go through the week with our regular shows. So big up to everyone for tuning in, and we'll be back soon. I'm out of here. Peace.